of the bond? Come along with us and let's see. If you've been in real estate long enough to know the word shift, let me tell you, I know that word shift. Shifts in real estate are consistent with the market. This year is an election year, as well as we've seen economic changes and challenges dealing with inflation. We hear talks about a recession based economy. We're even still dealing with a new normal, COVID. Currently, we're in a shifting market. This means that our real estate market, like others, is in a shift from one dynamic to the other. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's right, Robbie. And you know what they say, shift happens. For the last couple of years, the real estate market during the pandemic has seen a shift, and there's been a strong desire for shifts in housing. People are working more from home, they're telecommuting to the office, whereby such allowances have been enabled people to make choices to live where they weren't.
Yep.
Although businesses have made calls for their workforce to return to the office, this hasn't been without issue.
Elon Musk. No, just joking.
And as the real estate market continues to shift, people experience hesitation. And where there's hesitation, there might be a really great opportunity for you to buy a new home. So let's explore three simple reasons why you need to buy in today's shifting real estate market.
Just three? Come on. There's more than three, but I
There's
guess
more than three, but
no,
three is a good number.
three is a good number. I guess limiting it to three kind of keeps this in a short, concise method. It is what it is. But, I think one of my top three reasons why this is really a good time to buy is there's an increase in housing inventory. I think that's got to be one of those huge reasons why,
More
because
so.
do I?
More
More houses, that is true, because, what goes up must come down. It's that simple supply and demand theory.
right.
And one of the things we saw all during the pandemic was the lack of cars. And I mean, yes, that's equatable to the lack of houses, but dealerships were charging market adjustments. So were sellers in the real estate market. But when people really put it into perspective of really seeing what's going on in the car industry, we have that as well in the housing inventory. Even Amazon and other retailers were increasing their prices based upon limited supply. We saw that in grocery store, which we saw the government having to get involved with some of that. And we've seen gas prices, everything based upon a supply and demand economy, and that theory of supply and demand at its most basic form, when there's a high demand, prices go higher too.
Right.
That's what we saw in our real estate world,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And that's kind of what we've been seeing. And it's finally starting to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not going to say it's going to shift all the way to a buyer's market or even to a stable market. And really, I think it's kind of imperative to kind of take a pause for a moment and really analyze those markets. And when we start thinking about what is a seller's market versus what is a buyer's or a stable market, we do have scientific evidence that really does break it down. And when we're talking about a market shift, we aren't saying it's going all the way back to a buyer's market from a seller's market because as it's all indicated by the months of housing inventory that we have in every particular market.
right.
So 0 to 3.99 months of housing inventory really is what defines a seller's market.
Mhm.
And that's you're going to have to, excuse me, talk to a real estate professional in your area to know what the housing market is going to look like in your area, in your prospective market. And then 4 months to 6.99 months represents a stable market. And that's where we've got, and it's kind of nice to be in a stable market because we have equal buyers and sellers, and they're both working towards a, common real estate sale. But then when we jump into 7 months of plus of housing inventory, that means basically if no other houses go on the market, you have 7 months that it's going to take or more to sell all the houses. That's what puts us into a buyer's market. That is where we've got so many houses on the market that we can't sell them all. And it really does jump in there and affect those housing market numbers. But today there's so much more inventory and more choices for buyers than there have been in a long time. And
Um,
we see that a lot in the summer, but at the same time, hey, we got a lot of houses out there.
We do. We do have a lot of houses. So let's kind of look at Austin for an example of how the inventory has increased over the last few months. Let's look at some
Oh,
numbers.
that's good because I didn't even pull Austin numbers, but I'd love to hear what they are.
Yeah. So back in April, we had 0.8 months of housing inventory, and that equated to about 4,600 homes that were on the market at that time.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
super,
Okay.
super low inventory in April.
So basically, if no other houses went on the market, it took 8/10 of a month to sell them all.
Exactly.
Huge demand.
Yeah, huge demand, low supply. That changed a little bit in May. When we got to May, it increased to 1.2 months of housing supply,
Right?
which is still historically pretty low. And that equated to about 5,200 homes that were on the market in May.
Wow. So that those are some big numbers because I remember earlier in the year, it was point 0.2. It was just barely any housing market because it was
Right.
going so fast and so quickly because we had so many buyers trying, outbidding, doing all this crazy stuff, standing in line to go look at houses with their masks on, right? Having to go through a COVID protocol and create one on the fly was kind of crazy. But now homes are sitting longer on the market, which makes sellers think my house isn't that desirable, but that's not necessarily it. It's just a different, and we're in a shift and we have to look at other things. So, wow, that's a pretty good. I do like the fact that there's an increase in housing inventory as one of those top three things that is a great reason to buy a house during this market shift. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say number two would be for a two reason?
So there's a decrease in competition for the houses that are out there on the market.
Yeah.
Major thing. That is a major, major thing. When the summer was
You said decrease, not increase, right?
decrease
Okay.
in competition, less competition.
Less
Yes,
competition. Okay. Gotcha. And that's less competition on the seller side, right?
less competition among the buyers, right?
Yes, that's what it is. So there's a decrease in competition because there's less buyers for all the houses that are out there.
Right,
Absolutely. I love where you're going with this.
right.
So what are we experiencing this summer?
So typically in the summer, we are going to see more homes on the market anyway. In any year, the summer is going to have more homes, more people are ready to move, more people are ready to sell. That's just kind of the seasonal way that the real estate market tends to work in most places. This year, we actually got more distractions though than we would see in a normal year. So we're talking about things like family vacations. A lot of people that haven't vacationed for the last 2 years during the pandemic are
Right?
now going out and taking these epic, amazing vacations, family vacations. They're getting out of town, enjoying all the stuff that we haven't, really been able to do for the last couple of years. So people are out distracted with their vacations. So that's a few less buyers that are here looking for houses. Another one is the Texas heat. Like we're having a hot summer.
We are
And
having epic hot summer. I mean, things are going dry at the Guadalupe, tons of parks and everything are shutting down because they have no water in the rivers that we normally would
right.
go to. I mean, is it Joshua's well, what is it, the one out there in, Dripping Springs that's empty?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think that's Joshua's. Not totally sure, but I think you're right about that one.
Yeah, I just can't remember what it's called. It's been
Something
on the
like
bucket list, but not anymore.
right?
All I know is I'm keeping my dogs away, and oh my gosh, no, everybody hasn't met Bentley yet. I'm gonna have to
All
pray
right.
on let him meet Bentley.
All
But
right.
yeah,
Sure.
the Texas heat has really affected us in many, many ways.
Yeah. And one of those ways is there are a few less people that are willing to get out in that heat and go look at houses because it's definitely a different experience going out and looking at houses when it's 105 degrees outside than it is, in the fall and the winter where it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah, and tempers are a little bit shorter too, right? When you call it on core and all those other delivery things of, the brownouts and the blackouts and the
Right.
turn down. Hello, fix our damn grid.
I know. Fix it. Too hot. We need our air conditioners.
Yeah. Talk about the grid. What else?
And so the other major distraction that we're talking about this year has been political issues. So many, there's so much political turmoil going on that, that's distracting a few more people that are dealing with those things rather than, focusing on buying a house.
Yeah, and that is crazy. Some of the things that also talking about dealing in competition or decreasing competition, we also had the fact that we had a lot of institutional buyers in the marketplace, and we still are going to have institutional buyers in there. Whether you think that those are right or wrong, like me, it's going to be some of those issues in there. But all cash sales in May and June accounted for basically a fourth of all the transactions, and that's a huge
Wow.
number. I'm including in there, institutional buyers because they're buying them with all cash,
Right.
and those homes will never go back on the market, which is a frustrating thing as well. But, we also have cash buyers in there that were being able to just buy without, inspection and everything like that because they didn't care, they wanted to own.
Right.
But even in June, we saw 23% of, all of the sales being cash,
Wow.
which is kind of a huge number, wait, sorry, no, wait, that was June of 2021, we saw
Okay.
23%. So my memory it was going on that moment, but 23% back in June of 2021 compared to June and May of this year, it's only up, oh, what? 2
2%.
but that's still an increase, year over year, and but the crazy thing was out of all the people buying, 16% of those were all second home purchases.
Wow. Yeah.
So, we've seen a lot of all cash sales, and we've seen a lot of cash rich people going in and getting financing so that they offset those appraisal contingencies and different things that were out there. But now with, a decrease in we're seeing a little bit of change there, what they're having to do as a buyer and what they're going to have to do, right?
Absolutely. So we're starting to see, and this is talking about kind of the national market as a whole,
Uh-huh.
starting to see fewer homes being sold for over asking price.
I can see that. Totally see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, for historical context, back in April, nationally, 61% sold for over asking price. By at May, we were down to 55% nationally sold over asking price. And by the time we got to June, we were down to 51% over asking price. So
Wow.
that's
And
a pretty significant drop just over April, May, June.
yeah, that is a huge drop. I mean, I know that we've seen more properties come on the market, but
Mhm.
dang, you know,
Yeah.
that's
I,
some big numbers there.
yeah, they are. And of course, what that means is buyers are not now always having to go over asking or way over asking.
Which is good because I think sellers, and especially sellers agents, were starting well, they were already lazy on that aspect because there are so many different offers that were out there. They could just pop up and they could just grab one of them. But
Mhm.
more homes in the market provides you with less buyers out there fighting over the same property.
Right.
And that is going to be key. And one of the factors that would say now is a great time to be out there looking for a home because there's still great homes, and the wonderful thing with real estate is people are always going to move.
Yeah. You're always going to have great homes that are out there, being sold. But yeah, now that there are fewer buyers in the buyer pool, you're
More
more likely
properties.
to you're more likely to be able to get one of those great homes and the great home that you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, in all in all aspects of that, sellers have got to be getting fewer showings than they were.
And they have. Yeah. There are definitely fewer showings happening on properties for sale, which,
So it's going to take longer to get a house sold with fewer showings unless you're lucky enough to be blessed with someone who absolutely loves your house on the first showing,
yeah, which, would be amazing.
right?
Buyers aren't standing in line to see houses anymore. We're not seeing lines out the door at our open houses. We're not seeing, people lined up to get into houses to see them with their agents. It's definitely changed.
Yeah. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It's just a
Right.
different market you have to survive in.
Yeah. And
Uh,
another really, really cool thing that we're starting to see is we're seeing more sellers making larger concessions to attract buyers.
Yeah, we are.
And that's
That
we
is
see, yeah, it's some really good ones. So incentives like paying closing costs. One that I think can be really beneficial is offering to buy down the mortgage rate, interest rate. Yeah, offering to buy down the interest rate on the mortgage, which can be a really, really cool benefit for buyers or sellers. Offering to do that, and also offering some sort of monies for decoration and renovation.
yeah, I've
That's a
seen
really fun one.
that is a fun one. Now, I have
Right.
seen about 3 or 4, advertisements for open houses to, "Come see this open house and have some ice cream," because they're having ice
Ooh,
cream trucks and stuff, so they are trying everything, and an ice cream truck isn't gonna do anything to get that house sold. It's just gonna just create some buzz for somebody for some reason, but it's gonna be all the neighbors to go get the ice cream because it ain't gonna attract anybody that's gonna be the day it is still the fact that when the right person sees the house that interests them, they are going to want that house.
right.
It's kinda like buying a car. Once you find the car that you want, it kinda gets into you and it becomes an emotional decision.
I agree.
Which is one of those reasons that I like residential more than commercial because there's so much emotion that's involved in a residential transaction. And, we are seeing those incentives in new construction as well as resale. And they are
Right.
trying everything, which is good.
Yeah, I've seen some really good new construction incentives out there too. Now that you mentioned that,
Yeah, but
I read it.
nothing's gonna or overshine the horrible press that they got being just too damn stingy and,
Sure.
still up on my YouTube, this morning when I jumped on was one of the articles from, 2 months ago about the builder canceling the home out of convenience because they could get higher prices. Now that builder looks like shit. Well, they
Right.
already look like shit, but now they look like shit even more. How many times can I say shit and shit and shit? But at the same time, it really does make a difference. And, really being able to offer some incentives that shows you that people are motivated to get those homes sold. And that is good for buyers at this time entering the market, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we should probably also talk about a little bit about what that means to sellers now that the buyer competition is being reduced a little bit. It means sellers really have to be very realistic and very data driven with their pricing.
Absolutely. And a lot of people were just throwing out numbers and, agents weren't doing good CMAs. And that's a big thing. I always talk about a comparative market analysis and they just do a quick CMA and throw some numbers together and say, oh, here it is. But now it's really gonna be some creative as, our appraisals are also gonna be adjusting as well.
Right.
So those numbers were you're having trouble meeting those, and some of those appraisers were, throwing back saying, "Hey, I can't find the value." But being more realistic with their pricing is going to be key in this market for a seller because the buyers are gonna have the advantage, and you've got more houses on the market, you have less
Right.
buyer pool out there, which, we want more buyers out there. But in this shift right now, we've got so many distractions out there and all these homes, we've got to bring them back in line together, right?
Absolutely.
I'm going to name the third one, but I'm going to propose it to you and see if you can fly with it.
Okay.
Buyer demand is waning and it really is kind of shrinking.
Yeah.
They're just walking away because they're falling into the noise. And I remember reading that Bethany Frankel book about dating or maybe it was business or something years ago. And she was talking about, and this is the first person that I actually heard shut the noise off, the outside
Mhm.
noise, focus on your goals. And if goal of home ownership is one of those goals, you do have to shut off the noise. And all the noise out there may not affect you. So going like this and focusing on your goals is one of them, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
with buyer demand, I want to hear what you got to say about buyer demand because I think it's definitely has shifted a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so as the buyer demand is waning, sellers are seeing fewer offers. put that house out there on the market and, sometimes it's taking a longer time to get offers in and there are fewer offers that come in.
And the seller's agents are having to be more creative. And if you don't have a social
Yeah.
media plan for your listing, it's going to be kind of hard and very frustrating. And
Yeah.
for those agents who have survived market after market that's been different, they're going to be a lot better received in the market of this shifting market because we've been educated. We've had to learn to survive in it.
Yeah.
That's a little
Mm.
bit different.
That
Sorry.
alone ability to get creative
Yeah,
and look at
absolutely.
it from a different angle and kind of try different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the fact that now that there are fewer offers coming in on a house that offers are being taken more seriously. When a buyer puts in an offer, it's taken more seriously. There's more response, there's more consideration. And I feel like buyers deserve that respect when they put in a serious offer on a house. I think they deserve to have the sellers take it seriously. So that's kind of a good thing to see.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a really good one because most of the time they were just looking at the number and trying to figure out, basically which offer was going to be the highest number. And buyers weren't being able to ask for anything, especially not
Mhm.
at title policy and, the short option period and everything to do inspections. And, we're having to pay for everything. And
Yeah.
we're seeing that change.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Buyers are getting a little bit more leverage in the whole thing and yeah, it's becoming a better situation. And buyers also have a little bit more time to make their decision. It's no longer necessary that they put in an offer within an hour after seeing a house that they're interested in to try to get in ahead of, a bunch of other offers. They can take a little bit more time. Like, I don't ever recommend taking a whole ton of time if there's something that you really want, but,
I,
you have some time to decide. There's not that right now, yes or no pressure that a lot of people were feeling.
I agree with that, and I think that's a very valid statement in this section. Although I think that it is also imperative to look at the fact that if it's the right house and it's a right house, don't
Yeah.
screw around with it if you're the
Right.
buyer and you're
Right.
paying for that house because there could be somebody else that's going for that same house, even though the market is shifted or it's in the process of shifting. We do need to not just take everything for granted, right?
Um,
If it's right, it's right. It's kind of
right.
it's the way with
Right. Right.
yeah, in the same way with dating and the fact that, "Oh, I'm gonna play games," and, "Oh, I'm not gonna call you tomorrow because I talked to you today," and nobody has time for that. The
No.
people who are serious are still going to be out there buying, and that's why it's the same way when it goes into the winter and when it gets closer to Christmas and everything, people get so distracted and stuff like that. The people who are out there looking are freaking
I'm
serious.
serious.
And
Yeah.
that's what I like about it. The people in this market who are looking are serious. They're not getting tired saying, "Oh, well, maybe." And be serious.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good one. I like that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. And another difference that we're seeing is, things that were not considered acceptable months ago, as far as buyer demands go, are now being accepted. Buyers aren't having to pay all of the closing costs anymore. Sellers are starting to accept some of that responsibility, which is a good thing to see for buyers. And it's kind of balancing. It's getting into a better balance. That
Yeah, a lot of buyers were being forced to even purchase homes without doing an inspections period. And I
Mhm.
don't like that. I like to know what I'm buying and, especially with a good survey so I can see what all I'm buying.
Yeah,
But in the previous months, some were even having to forego an inspection just to get the home. And, which was crazy. And they say their theory behind that, even though we have something we say you got to get an inspection, it's really imperative. They were like, "Well, we're gonna end up with the house anyway, so whatever happens is gonna happen." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you can negotiate." Well, they couldn't negotiate, but at least they would know what they were getting.
right.
And fewer multiple offers too that are going on now that we're going. I know
Yeah,
I was in a bunch of multiple offer classes and trying to get people into understanding what signified them going into a multiple offer situation. But do you have any numbers on multiple offers where they are, where they've been nationally?
I do. I do have some numbers. I have national numbers on multiple offers.
Yeah.
So in April, we were looking at an average of 5.5 offers,
Okay.
which is a lot. In May, 4.2 offers, and in June, it was down to 3.4.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
those are some good numbers, that 5.5, 4.2, and what was the last one?
3.4. And again,
Three.
these are national numbers. So this is across the entire nation. This doesn't apply to a specific market. This can vary so much depending on where you are, what city, what neighborhood, what price range. There's I mean, this literally includes everything. So
Yeah. I mean, I know getting 12 and 15, San Marcos area with listings or in Austin, there were 20, 30, even 40
right.
and 50 offers on one house. That's such a significant drop. And we were seeing a lot more offers in Austin and San Antonio area in particular to nationally, but that's all taken into consideration, how many offers and stuff like that. So it's good to see those numbers coming down. It's kind of, I bet our July number is going to be even lower
Yeah,
when the
you're
numbers
right
come
about
down.
that.
Yeah. Wow. So there's less focus for a buyer to have to give that highest and best offer without expecting the seller to negotiate, which is what we've been seeing so much in
Right.
the past couple of months. So run us through the top three. What were they? But we've named out. I mean, of course, it's buyer demand is
Mhm.
falling or waning. And what was the second
Right.
one?
We're having a decrease in competition among buyers.
Decrease in competition,
Yeah. And then increase in housing inventory.
and increase in housing inventory. So as all of this relates, and it's all about looking at really where a buyer fits into the market.
Mhm.
I think it's really important that you and I talk about what market value is, because
Mhm.
that's going to be really the thing that is coming into the forefront more than it has ever before in the last couple of months, because we're in a market that's shifting. And with a
Mhm.
shifting market, we're going to be looking more at market value. And of course, everybody, if you ask anybody what is market value, they're going to say that's the price that a seller and a buyer agree on. But a lot of the time in the last couple of months, we haven't had buyers agreeing as to these prices as much as just accepting the fate of these prices.
Good for
It's important to really kind of think about what is market value really in the whole scheme of the mortgage and real estate world? Because we know that we have a secondary mortgage market that kind of oversees mortgages in general. There's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and it goes on. But Fannie Mae has a seller's guide, which the seller's guide is what dictates to the mortgage market all the different factors for a Fannie Mae backed mortgage.
it.
And so Fannie Mae really defines that market value is the most probable selling price that a property would bring in a competitive and open market, right? Under all certain conditions is our requisite for a fair sale. And the buyer and the seller both have to act prudently and knowledgeably. And prudently and knowledgeably aren't the same thing. You have to be have a prudent action and course of action, but really being informed by your real estate agent, because knowledge is going to be key in that. And assuming that the price is not part of undue stimulus, meaning a non-arm's length transaction where you've got one family member selling a house to another family member. So all of that jumps in and gives you a good definition of what market value or fair market value is, because it is implicit that people understand that the buyer and the seller both have to be typically motivated to get the sale done. And that means that they both parties are well informed, well advised, which I just talked about, but are acting in their own best interest. Now that we've
Mhm.
got a market that's kind of flipping, we're going to see that the buyer's interests are being a little bit more observed
Right.
in the sales than they probably have been in the past. And Fannie Mae actually even defines that sale has to be in US funds in
That
the
makes
United
sense.
States. So US dollars. And, we're still not seeing a whole lot of what's that bitterness, bitter corn, Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I just kind of keep forgetting about it because if it's not tangible and I can't touch it, I'm not, into it. I don't like the stock market. If I can't touch it, feel it, it's in the air.
Yeah.
But that normal consideration, the buyer and the seller, the buyer saying, I do have something to sell, and the buyer says it's worth it to me to
Yeah.
have property is also a main consideration in here. And, market value really dictates the price that a home's going to sell for. But now we're going to see a true market value instead of an inflated, and buyers just had to buy it. And if they had to have something, they had
Mhm.
to have something. And 9 out of the 10 home sales that I know that we've been involved in over the last couple of years, it's been the whole, this is what they're asking for. This is what it's going to go for. Is this what it's really worth? Can't answer that for you. And there's been a lot of real estate companies that have been caught in the aspect of these accelerated prices that it's not necessarily going to put you in a bad perspective. It's just going to take you longer to get all the equity back out of your house.
It's true. Yeah.
And real estate's really about the long-term hold, right? It's not about just flipping it in the next 30 days.
Right.
You want to make money, you want to build equity, and you can't do that in any other aspect. And, I think you and I both heard so many quotes about, the really building wealth is about owning real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a great wealth builder for so many people, and so many families, and so many individuals. It can really, really help to, and it's long, like you said, it's a long term wealth building. It's not something that happens overnight. It's
Yeah. So there's those three reasons that really buying in this shifting market is going to be beneficial to you. It is going to take you working with not only a popular realtor, but really somebody who's educated, who can
yeah.
give you a good comparative market analysis and not one of those quick CMAs. If you see a quick CMA, run. I tell everybody in classes, realtors do not give people quick CMAs. I tell consumers all the time, if someone gives you a quick CMA and tells you that's all you need, that's only because that's all they can do. Run. Don't just run, walk away, run fast. But seriously, you're going to see some changes, but you're really going to have to depend on those numbers and really trying to find out what is a good buy and what isn't, or at least see somebody.
Right.
Because everybody's lifestyle changes and things happen, and you're going to always have a need to buy and to sell real estate. But we've got to jump in there and really take advantage of what the market's giving us today.
Yeah. Right now can really be a good time for a lot of buyers to get in there and get some awesome opportunities.
I'm with you. I think it's a great time. Call your realtor, call Carrie.
Call us.
Yeah, see you next time.